Hello, everybody. Welcome to MangaPod. We're a weekly podcast in which we all get together after we've read all or part of a manga, and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. This week we are talking about Vagabond, 6 through 10 volumes, chapters 50 through 97. I'm Erin, a happily Erin, your host, and with me are two of my three lovely co-hosts as well as a very special guest. Let's have everybody introduce themselves, please.
Hi guys, I'm Dodger, and it feels like it's been forever since we got to read Vagabond, and I'm delighted to talk about it again.
It was like 2015 the first time we read it.
Wow,
what?
Yeah, it's been like 2.5 years.
That's actually insane, because 2015 was like the last time we got a chapter, so that's kind of I'm not even joking. I'm pretty sure I was like 2015. I was in college. There was a chapter of Vagabond coming out that year. Like,
oh shit.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe this will prompt him to like
absolutely.
release.
Nah,
Or the
hopefully.
catalyst.
My name's Lou from What Talks to Anime, and I hope there's more Vagabond coming out. And I want to read what is currently available. I don't know. I'm excited. There's lots of thoughts and feelings about this. It was a struggle to not continue reading.
Dude,
I was
that's for sure.
Especially where
mad.
we ended. Holden?
So my name is Holden Casanova. I run a channel of the same name. Maybe something different in the future, but yeah. I'm here to talk about Vagabond, man. The original manga by Takehiko Inoue after he made Slam Dunk. So this is a sports mangaka gone samurai.
I want a manga about that. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
If you guys have never joined us for MangaPod before, what we like to do is give you a short spoiler-free description of the manga that we're reading, aka summary, that will be read by Holden, and then we'll give you our spoiler-free recommendations, whether we think you should spend time going to read this manga or not. That way, if it sounds like something you are interested in, you don't have to be spoiled when we get to spoiler section. You can take your leave, go read it, and then come back and watch the VOD of it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/happilyerin. That's where the first VOD of this is, and this one will go up like immediately after the show ends, so you can literally go read it and then come and watch the show right after. We ask that nobody post any spoilers for anything until we get to spoiler section, and once we get to spoiler section, please don't post anything past chapter 97. Please do not post any spoilers. We're very hard on people who spoil. It's not fun, it's not nice, it's rude. You're rotten bacon butts, so don't do it. Don't even joke about doing it. Don't.
I will fucking end you. Don't spoil me on Vagabond. It's real shit, yo. It's
So
real
wait,
shit.
is this really the first time you've read it since 2015, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, this is exciting. This is the last time
You're
I
like
read it was
shocked.
2015. No, yeah, I don't know how you guys put it down, honestly. When I read it in 2015, I read like the whole thing.
We've had it on the schedule a few times and it had to keep getting rescheduled.
Pushed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fall quite into my repertoire of really odd, out of left field shit that I'm used to, or at least that I recommend. Formerly being like, Chikan Otoko, Onanime Katsuka like Kurosawa, or like Sweet Guy or something. But it's a series that's like so revered in such a important manga that I'm honored to be here talking about it today. I'm so really excited.
Awesome. You want to give us the spoiler-free description?
Absolutely. It's in 16th century Japan. Shinmen Takazo, who also goes by the name, for the sake of discussion, it's going to be Miyamoto Musashi. We're going to use probably the names interchangeably going on, so I just want to make sure you guys know that going forward. But he's this young man in both appearance and his actions. His aggressive nature has won him the collective reproach and fear of the village, leading him and his best friend, Mahachi Hoiden, to run away in search of something grander with their lives. The pair enlist in the army, yearning for glory on the battlefield, but after suffering a crushing defeat at the hands of the Tokugawa clan during the Battle of Sekigahara, the friends barely make it out alive, and the two are separated. And then when they return home from the self-appointed mission, they notify of him, Mahachi, of his survival, and he intends to find himself a wanted criminal to make up and kind of make up for his actions that he on the failure of the battlefield. And then he ultimately comes in line with a monk disguised as a Taku Shoho, which is the devil child. And this meeting with this monk is all about kind of consoling him and giving him a new name to avoid the pursuit of the authorities. So he ultimately gets the name Musashi Miyamoto. Vagabond is a fictitious retelling of the life of Japanese most renowned swordsman, the swordsman saint Musashi Miyamoto, and his rise from swordsman with no desire other than to become invincible under the heavens to the enlightened warrior who slowly learns the importance of close friends, self-reflection, and life itself. So it's important to note that Vagabond is actually based off of also a novel, an old Japanese novel of not the same name, but same subject matter being Miyamoto Musashi. So this is a semi-biographical work with, of course, some artistic liberties taken along the way.
What? I almost spoiled something, but I will not. Keeping it in. Awesome. Thank you so much. Should we do spoiler-free recommendations? Lou, you want to go first?
It's fucking great. Love Vagabond. So good. I want to read all of it. It's great. I love it. It's a thing that I don't want to put down ever. It's good.
It's very good.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Yeah, I love Vagabond. I'm so glad that we came back to it. It's just, the art is fantastic. The characters are great. Like the way that you just see all of these different characters kind of like living their lives, and it all ultimately revolves around this one person that you know is going to become someone great, is so cool. It's so well done, which is not surprising because everything else that we've read by this mangaka has been amazing. But Vagabond is definitely worth your time. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll Treco, triple echo, double echo,
Echo.
Treco, all of that. I really enjoy reading this. It's such a fast read, both because of the pacing of it and also just because of how you get sucked into the story and following the story of the swordsman and seeing where he's going to go, and just constantly excited to see who he's going to face and what he's going to face in this journey. And the art is amazing. It's everything that you expect from this mangaka, and it's always stellar, and it's just been really good. All the 97 chapters that we've read, and like you guys have said, I want to read more, 100%.
Yeah, I read a lot. I read all of it back in 2015. I reread these volumes for this talk today, and it's something that's incredible. There's few series that run for 20 years and kind of withstand the test of time as well as Vagabond does, especially when you compare it to its contemporaries also from the 1990s and early 2000s. Vagabond's doing something that's so rarely done in manga, and something that's very much, again, expected of someone like Takahiko Inoue. Because, I mean, if you look at his work and his progression through something like Slam Dunk, how it starts off and where it ends, by the end of Slam Dunk, all of that kind of palpability and characterization is very much something that Inoue takes away from and implements later on into Vagabond. Vagabond is all about taking seemingly divergent paths and bringing them together in the most unexpected ways possible. And that's kind of the payoff that I think that if you want to get anything out of Vagabond, it's all about trying to figure out the path in which characters move and how different paths take you in different directions. Vagabond's very much something I would highly recommend to anyone, really, especially those interested in feudal era Japan, because a lot of everything in it is pretty accurate, which is surprising, but don't get too caught up on that. If you don't know anything about the shogunate or anything, don't worry about it. It's not going to be something that you need to take a history class on in like 18th century Japanese.
I don't know shit, and I love it. So
yeah, so don't get too caught up on that. It's an incredible historical piece, for sure.
That was far more articulate than what I said. But Vagabond, I think all of us are in agreement, is worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Definitely. All right, so we will go into our spoiler section. That means that if you don't want to be spoiled for this manga, these first 97 chapters, now's the time to take your leave. And like we said, you can go back and watch the VOD of this on YouTube later. So countdown, please.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Musashi is God.
Musashi's God.
The sword is God.
The sword is God.
The sword
Sword
is
is
God.
Sword is
The
heaven.
way of the sword
The way of the
is God.
All right. Sweet. Where do we? Can I just? I love
Guys,
Musashi.
they
I
finally
love
saw each
Musashi.
other. I was so excited.
Yes. They finally met each other.
They finally met each other. Oh my god, I was gonna be so pissed if he left that building and never saw her. I was gonna be like, no.
I misunderstood. Like for a second, I misremembered where we were ending, and I thought we were ending on the chapter right before they met each other. And I was like, what the fuck did we do? And then I went back and realized I had 7 more chapters. Oh, thank God.
It ends. It ends right before probably my favorite chapter in the entire manga, or at least like favorite volume. I don't know, man. It's so good.
It's really
I like this volume a lot because you finally get to see the direction and the divergence in the paths between Makahata and Musashi. So you finally see the divergence in their friendship and like how each one is handling it in isolated instances. Mm-hmm. So like volume 6 focuses a lot on him taking the name of Sojiro because like he of course gets this paper where he wants to be like Sasaki Kojiro, and he takes that and he's like, I'm this person, and so he feigns like this false persona of who he is just for the accolades so he can just get through life with it. Whereas Musashi is all about trying to figure out how to become stronger, how to make out, and he just replaces it amazing. So it's like cool because they both change their names. So you see like parallels between the characters and how their decisions to get to like to the same end goal, which in this case is like they both want to become revered swordsmen, how different their paths are in getting there. Like one wants to obtain the title of invincibility, is what he like claims it to be, by defeating the strongest opponents. And the other one just wants it at any cost necessary, even if that's taking the name of someone who is invincible.
And he also, he's frustratingly fascinating to read the chapters of, because he's a constant repeat story of deep down trying to do something right and then giving up and doing what's easy. And like it never works out for him. I'm just like,
Absolutely
of course
not.
it's not gonna work because you're not like, oh god.
And not him. And
it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. Every time he was on, I was like, I'm going to be angry at you at the end of this, aren't I?
Yeah.
And so he has it's very, like you're saying, it's very interesting, the two paths that the two are taking. And I'm interested in their stories for very different reasons. Because I already love Musashi, whatever his name is. I love him so much. At this point, whereas the other one, I'm at a point where I'm like, you have a big redemption story that's got to happen, because I'm just like so annoyed and frustrated by everything you're doing that I just need your character. Like, I want to know what your character arc is later on. Like, my frustration is pulling me forward with his. I'm like, I want to know what's going to happen with you, because right now I'm so annoyed with you.
Yeah.
But I'm invested. It's not like I'm not invested. It's not something where I'm reading, I'm like, I could do without this story. I'm just like,
Totally.
but I want it. Yeah, I want it.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's hard, I think, for mangaka to balance that. When we were reading Oyasumi Punpun, right? And we kept being like, man, honestly, I probably would have enjoyed this more without these supplementary chapters that weren't focused on Punpun.
Yeah.
And that's not how I feel at all with this. I love when we get like a couple chapters in a row that are about these other characters, because like it's good. You can tell that their stories are going to converge, and it's going to be really interesting when they do. So we got this great payoff like at the end of our reading where he finally saw his childhood lady friend, and I was like, oh, I love her, and they see each other, and fuck, I'm so happy. Like, that was such a good payoff after seeing what her life was like for a few chapters, you know?
The payoff, the way it paid off with them meeting with the swords was so great.
Yeah,
I love that that's how it happened.
Me too.
It's pretty great.
I like having those chapters like dispersed throughout the main story more than anything, because that shift in tone I feel like, because there's a manga that I could only ever see myself consuming in vast quantities. But I feel like it gives me a break to breathe and relax from all the tension of the serious bits. Like there was this whole section in a fight there was this whole bit in a fight that happened in this section of reading where it was two characters facing each other for like 10 chapters without moving, and it's just building up that tension for the fight. And the fight happened and it had its payoff, but I think immediately after we went to the other story being told. I feel like that was very much necessary in terms of like giving the reader room to breathe and absorb everything that had happened, while still giving you something that will lead to a major payoff later. So now at that point, like I don't think we've had that major payoff yet, but what we have had is a lot of character development for someone that I honestly didn't give a fuck about in the last reading. At all.
I think it's there's this whole like the beginning of everything starts with specifically Ishun. Ishun is a character who is kind of left at the wayside after this arc, but Ishun is this monk who follows the way of the sword and the staff because he was raised into it. And it's only after the confrontation between Musashi and him that you get to even know anything about this character. Up until this point, he's just this super strong bald guy who uses a staff sword, and it doesn't make like any sense.
Yeah.
And it's only after the events have happened that you see all this happening. But what's so cool is that the contrast of everything that you're being told doesn't matter because the results have already been posted. You already know what happens. All of this is just to kind of reinforce who he was up until that point when he hit the ground. And it's really cool. I remember that being like one of the most striking parts of the whole like beginning of the series, because ultimately, I didn't realize it until I reread it now, but like this isn't even a spoiler. All the scars that he has in the story carry over forever. So
yeah, it's so cool.
I love it so much.
In volume 37, even like way later down, he still has the cut that goes across his ear and up towards his cheek. And it was cool because I took that so for granted because I was so used to it at this point. But kind of refreshing myself and going back to these earlier volumes, it's so cool to see like that Musashi keeps everything that he has on him forever. Like all the scars that he endures are literally on him for the rest of the entire series. His character is redesigned every time he gets like in an encounter with someone and then gets damage inflicted on him. And that's something that's pretty prevalent throughout the series. The idea of like moving forward towards something and kind of what the cost of it is getting there. So a lot of the characters get like pretty grievous wounds inflicted on them, and it's all about like the honor that is bestowed with scars. So an example that is kind of it's a really absurd example, but it's kind of what gets everything rolling, is when whenever Musashi's sword aide, which is the boy Jotaro, gets attacked by a dog, and he ultimately tries to kill the dog, and that whole sequence is what sparks the entire the Yukiya clan, clan wanting to kill him in the first place. They didn't want to fight him at all. They were just more interested in the sword technique that was like produced this cut on this like specific flower. But without like that whole idea of what he said though, which is that the idea of like, you've scarred my face because the dog like clawed his face and stuff, and this is the kind of honor that you've dishonored me, that and everyone who ever sees me from now here going forward will always know and see the scars on my face. And it's because it's like that means so much to them, and that's something that's like pretty prevalent throughout the work, and that's why I like seeing those like slight changes, and especially like the different character designs and how they change, like how his hair starts off really short at the beginning of the series and how it's slowly getting longer to the point where he's putting in a ponytail, and like when he's naked getting in the tub, he looks like a totally different character. I'm like,
I agree.
When his hair's down.
I was like, who the hell is this? This is Tarzan? Like,
it took me a second when he got it. I was like, wait, is that... it is you. You still have those sexy scars. That is you.
It's like, who the hell is this? And it's so crazy. My favorite characters, though, are in this volumes are the older ones. I really like the older characters. Everything they say could be interpreted in multiple ways depending on like when the reader is reading it. Like I feel like everything they say about like, for instance, the idea of like, he's like, I want to be invincible under the sun, and he says, what is he? And like the old guy who was teaching him says, what is that? What does that even mean? Isn't that just words? Do you even know the meaning of the word invincible? Yeah. And it wasn't in so much of a question or retort. He's asking him, like, what do you define invincible as? Because at the end of this reading, like volume 10, he finally meets the invincible after he reunites with Otsu. After he reunites with her, he finally gets to meet the man that he always thought was invincible. And seeing him in this crippled state is like making him realize the emphasis that he puts on just a word. Yeah. And that kind of stuff is super cool because it's all like up to the reader to kind of interpret how these characters are changing, but you can really see the development through them. That's why I think that one thing that's super strong about his writing is that he's always kind of done that, right? I don't know if you've read like Riola, for instance, but Riola's a really great example of a person who's just changing, who's trying to adapt to something about themselves they hate or dislike and want to change, or accept that part about them that they thought they hated. And that's what the series feels like. He's frustrated with being weak, what he thinks is weak or not strong enough.
Yeah, it focuses on flaws of characters really well, and not just like, it doesn't paint them as pretty. It's very raw for all of them, and like seeing where the characters are going and how they're going to overcome these flaws or whatever they feel is a weakness and their journey to overcoming it. And so can we talk about with Injun how I felt like all of a sudden it became a ghost story really quick. I was so confused.
Crazy.
It's like I was like wait, what? I was thrown off.
I was confused for a I mean, I think everyone.
I feel like you're supposed to. That's definitely how it's like. I think it's supposed to jar you, just like how he gets confused, where he's like, "Wait, is that me?" And everyone else is like, "Yeah, is that you? Like, what's happening?" But yeah, I was thrown off by it. It just threw me for a loop. But I liked it. Go ahead.
No, I like it because it's just, you think it messes with your expectations. You think he's dead the whole time because you're like, this is just when your life flashes before your eyes. Like you're thinking that like this is it. Like this is who he was before he hit the ground. And so like that messing with that expectation at the end, it feels so crazy because it puts a spin on your expectations up until there. Because it's so like, it almost feels like torture potentially, like pulling teeth getting there. Because you see like how much he works towards getting to where he is, and how to the reader, none of it matters. You're just, a body on the ground now. Like it doesn't matter. And so when they mess with that expectation, and he takes all of that, like when he realizes that he took that all for granted, you get this really cool payoff that's super unique.
Yeah. What did you guys think about that standoff and that whole fight overall?
Like their intense will battle.
Yeah.
It made me laugh because this manga does not very often get tropey, but it did the trope where like we saw like him get hit, but it never happened. It happened in their minds. It's like, yes,
there it is.
You get pierced through the heart, and it doesn't happen. Yeah, it does happen.
What I really liked about it was how it was shown through the art. How it was very quick because it was just, there wasn't very much dialogue. There's no dialogue happening between those two at all. All we get is the two other characters bringing stuff up. But just seeing slowly how their faces were changing and how the weight of the stare down was taking its toll on physically and mentally. And that was shown through the art really well. Because there's nothing said between them. They're not fighting for the majority of like 3 chapters. They're literally just staring at each other. But it's still really intense.
Yeah, I think to build off of what you're saying, I don't think it would have been as effective if the mangaka wouldn't have taken or made use of just minor changes in expression and incremental changes in expression and how they're reacting to the surroundings. I don't think that building of tension would have been as successful. Now, the one critique that I have about it is I feel like I would have liked the fight to be a little bit more drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual physical fight?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
Yeah, like there was a line of dialogue thrown in there that was something to the effect of, "Oh, this will be over in an instant," and I didn't want it to be over in an instant. Like this is a fight that had been built to for like 15 chapters. Like I wanted it to be a long, drawn-out battle with some sort of major payoff, and the payoff at the end was, was nice. Musashi got his win, but the other character was still kept to be a strong and feared like potential adversary for Musashi. Like he was the first real adversary that that could rival him in terms of strength and believably beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted that fight to be a little bit more drawn out, and it wasn't like the first fight was. Like the first fight felt like it was a longer fight, and I enjoyed reading that one more.
Yeah.
But the stakes for this one were higher, so it all kind of like evens out, I guess.
Yeah. So after that, he goes on to the next village, and we have the grandson, who's inheriting. What do you guys think about him and that whole scene and like where we're at in the volumes now with that?
I feel like, at least so far, it feels like even if technically he would be facing an old man, he's always going to wind up facing the next in line.
Yeah.
Like this creation of like the next generation of samurai and like seeing all of them face each other, Like I do like that every time he tries to do this, every time he tries to challenge somebody, there's some sort of a barrier, right? And it's normally coming down to his personality, but sometimes it's like in this section that we're reading right now, it's that they don't accept Ronin, right? Like they don't let just anybody show up and fight. And so having all of these situations wind up happening because he still has a lot of growth to do, where in his mind he's like, well, but I have to fight him, so I guess I'm just gonna also fight everybody else. Oh my god. I like that it didn't wind up with him being successful because the one person that he wants to fight can't fight, like is bedridden. But I assume they've set up a situation where you're like, but his grandson's there, and they had a nice hot springs moment together, so they're definitely gonna have a good fight.
Oh yeah, that hot spring moment.
Yeah, it's like, I know why you don't like to bathe. What do you mean I don't like to bathe? Well, do you? No.
He doesn't.
I also don't.
Yeah, it's true.
That was basically word for word what happened.
Yeah, just like a cat is what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the setup for his character, the grandson. I'm really enjoying because he's very serious. Like he takes what he does seriously, but he seems to be having fun, which is so different. Like he's a lot more lighthearted than I think of a lot of the people that Musashi has fought so far. That I can remember. And so I'm very intrigued to see what a fight with him, like not even with Musashi versus him, but just him in a fight, like how he would fight and what he would do. I'm very interested in his character.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because even God, what is her name? I keep wanting to call.
Osu?
Yeah, I keep wanting to call her Uryu, and I'm like, this isn't Bleach. I like that she made the comparison for us of he reminds me of my childhood friend, but there's something different there, and I think that their fight is going to wind up being really cool to watch. They have to fight. They can't just like tease that shit. Obviously. They gotta have a fight at some point. And when they do, I think it'll be really cool if they have even just like slightly similar shit going on. I'll enjoy that a lot.
I like that Prodigy boy is not an asshole.
Yes.
He comes across as likable. And I feel like normally when you see characters that have a bunch of talent and they're introduced as having a ton of talent, like they're usually presented as being, oh yeah, this guy's an asshole, and you kind of root for the main character to knock them off. That's not what this manga does. This manga gave us a likable personality and a very genuine rival for our main character that I could honestly, like, up to this point, I really like this character, and while I wouldn't root against Musashi when they do eventually fight, I kind of want to see him grow more, and I want to see him develop, and I want him to see other people, so I fight other people, so I can root for him.
I want him to be a character that goes forever.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so I don't know. I'm the exact opposite of you guys in this regard, because it's like I'm so afraid of people fighting in this series because combat is so lethal in here.
Yeah.
People just die, and that's just all there is to it. There's no.
I'm scared. I'm more scared now.
It doesn't like a lot of.
Don't get attached to anyone.
Like a lot of the characters, like, because wounds are so permanent and everything, it's like no one goes away unscathed from any fight. And so, like, the mortality of people in this series is, like, portrayed very well, like, to his effect of, like, people are super fragile. Like, people will just flat out die, and then that's just it. Combat here is, like, super high stakes. Like, when he's using, like, his sword and stuff, like the wood sword specifically, he's inflicting, like, trauma and concussions to people that'll just kill them. And he, like, constantly does that to people, and it's like, I could never escape that sense of lethality that this series always gives off. The series exudes, like, that people can just be completely destroyed and eviscerated at just, like, an instant, and there's no one doing it. Like, it's super... it feels like there's legitimate stakes involved all the time. And so it always felt like really hard for me to read because it's like, I felt like everybody felt super, like, besides Musashi, who always felt pretty invincible, everybody else felt like they had, like, very minimal plot armor. Like,
that makes
because they feel so equal with characterization, and people with equal characterization, like, tend to die off and stuff, it's almost like, what is the actual purpose of, like, trusting anyone? So I remember reading this series very much from, like, a perspective of, I want Musashi to, like, achieve his goal, and I'm going to be try to remain as emotionally disconnected from everything else as possible. Because that's what he is. Like, he's disconnecting himself because, like, even when he acknowledges that they can be friends, like what he did with Ishin, he still tried to kill Isun.
Yeah.
There was no restraint on his end at all, and it wasn't until after he thought he killed him that they even forgive each other.
Yeah.
Him failing to do so. Like.
Yeah.
And that's what's so like scary about this series in particular is that it's just the stakes are so high and they never feel like they drop at all. Yeah. Like there's never like a school festival where they're using Nerf swords. Which is like a huge letdown in that regard. Like if I saw Musashi and his friend Matahara fighting, I would assume one's going to die.
Yeah.
Like if Otsu and that girl and like his grandson fought for whatever reason, right? I would assume one's going to die.
Yeah.
It never feels like I'm walking into it, and it's not like a Boku no Hero moment.
Yeah, I was
like,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like at the end of the day, Todoroki versus Deku, it kind of doesn't matter who you root for because you know that neither one is probably gonna die.
Yeah. Every like fight between good boys in that show is going to be about character development, not about fighting.
So you're right. Like this avoids all of the like shonen tropes because you're like, oh, well, no one's going to get stabbed in an area where they avoid their vital organs. Like that's not going to happen. Right. Like if they get stabbed, they're probably going to be dying. So it does make the stakes feel a lot higher, which is why it's hard. It hurts so much more to get attached to characters because you're like, no.
Absolutely.
What did you guys think? The fight with the 5 talented swordsmen, I loved that fight so much.
That was
What did you
really
guys
badass.
think about it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved that it started out with him so cocky. He's like, I only needed to take on one. Oh, I can take on all 5, whatever, that's fine. And then by the end, he's running away because he's like, fuck. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
winning.
die.
Like, because it seems like he's winning because they're scared of him. He's letting off all the bloodlust, and he's obviously improved from his previous fights and his training. So he's letting off the bloodlust, and they're actually scared. I love that they show that they're scared, but they fight on. And they're not just these weaklings that give up. Like, they power through because they have that same training. Like, they have the mental training, too.
They come across so much more as, like, masters.
Yeah, as
than
matured.
Other
like,
people have, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's nice because you always, like you said, Holden, when you see them fight, you just assume you know one of them is going to die. So when you have a fight like that where it's like, oh, they're the lackeys, like, obviously they're going to die instantly. The fact that the fight is still ongoing. Like, he didn't win that fight. Like, he didn't win against any of them. Was really cool. I love the fact that that's ongoing, the way that that was done.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I like that they weren't like putties from Power Rangers. Like they actually,
Yes.
like, yeah, they're weaker than the primary, or they're weaker than the protagonist, but they have numbers and they have strategy. And they can find a way to overwhelm him. Like, I mean, if you were to pick up this manga and maybe read it from this series of chapters once he's like once he's in that residence, I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to read Musashi as like the primary antagonist for the story, considering how he's carrying himself and his desire for violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think about that. Should we talk about the art? Should we touch the art?
Oh, sure. Dude,
It's great.
I know it's so hard to like say anything other than
It's fantastic.
it's good.
But I will say I like the art in real more.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. He was a lot older when he made that. I think he had 10 years of experience under it. His designs greatly contrast his designs from Real and even the later volumes of Vagabond.
Yeah.
Just even just the characters in general, especially the females, go through radical transformations in his later works. In this one, he has a lot of trouble making them look feminine, I feel like. Or conversely, maybe he has trouble making men look feminine. For instance, in the first 5 volumes, he encounters that Playboy guy who gives him the scar on his forehead. He looks like a carbon copy clone of Otsu, of his love interest in male form.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they could have been siblings. And so there was something clear that he was like, either I can't make these characters look different or I just can't make men look feminine. That I remember led to like an artistic crisis, I felt like, where it was just, I had trouble identifying if he was killing his girlfriend, who was now post-op, or if this was like a different character.
Right.
And so that kind of stuff was always kind of weird. But other than that, I mean, like, you always get these really incredible sprawling 2-page spreads pretty frequently that are just incredible. Where it maximizes the widescreen format of 2 pages so well that it just, I don't know, it's never on a white background unless there's some crazy contextual reason for it being on a white background, for instance. And I don't know, it really brings you in because of that. Like, it really is effective at kind of just pulling out like all of the set pieces and everything that makes it feel just like it's a part of, like, the setting is just almost like tangible.
Right.
And that's something that I really like about it. Even everything from like even just the hair. The hair in this series looks incredible. I've always loved how Takahiko Inoue does hair. How it, like, you can like see the sweat on it, like how it's not like kept hair, because I mean this is feudal era Japan, and you can really feel just kind of the viscerality of these characters and like the cross hatching and everything on them. Just makes the whole thing look amazing. It's always one of the best. It's like one of the best manga to look at art wise. Yeah. He's been considered a master for years for good reason.
Yeah. If ever I hear his name attached to something, I'm like, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, that's gonna look
It's gonna
amazing.
look amazing. Like you said, the 2-page spreads, I just stare at them. Like I pull them up on my computer and just like have them on this, or like even the physical volumes. Like they just look so great. And you know that you're gonna get that from him. Even if you don't know what the story is about, whatever manga it is, you know you're gonna get these amazing, consistently amazing 2-page spreads or character designs, and even perspective. Like the way he does different angles and different perspectives. It's not just like this side of a face or this way or this way. It's like you get from up, you get it from down, you get it all over the place. And the fact that he's mastered so many different body positions and the ways that bodies move and makes it look fluent and real, because this stuff looks very not anime or manga, like the thing that we typically think of. It looks very realistic, kind of like a history drawing or something out of a history book. And so it's cool that he is able to do that. It's always just really impressive every time I read one of his series, whether it's just a few chapters or a new series. It's always like mind-blowing.
Yeah, for sure.
Does anybody
sorry, I was gonna say,
you go ahead.
It does make me want to makes me want to read Real again.
Yeah.
Like I want to read more Vagabond, but I'm also like, fuck, Real is so good too.
It was incredible.
We are reading it in March.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yes. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, we're reading more. Do you guys have anything else you would like to touch on? Bring up, otherwise we'll do final thoughts and ratings. Like I said, like it goes, we read a lot of chapters, but they go really quick, and there are a lot of like fast scenes. There's so much to compact in each scene that happens. So, all right, final thoughts and ratings. Would anybody like to go first?
I'll go first.
Do it.
All right, so I really enjoy Vagabond. Like, if my little outburst earlier like didn't paint that picture for you, I'm gonna have to spell it out for you. Like, everything artistically about this manga is really interesting. The history behind it, the way the characters are written, it's a very engaging read. I feel like, to a certain extent, I feel challenged by Vagabond, not thematically, but emotionally, in that the weight of the character's actions, kind of like building off of what Holden said, like the permanence of what happens when they interact with each other, and how nothing is really taken for granted. I find it profoundly interesting. The art is excellent. Like I said, I've preferred the art in Real, but with that context of, well, you know, that's 10 years less experience as an artist from the mangaka, you know, it makes sense that, and maybe Real is less complex to design, or maybe I don't know, because you don't have to account for those like very detailed set pieces, because that's one thing that we didn't really touch upon a lot in the art, is that the backgrounds are really like detailed, and the geography all makes sense in how the panels are laid out. But I love Vagabond. I really, 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 really want to read more, so I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Awesome. Who's next?
I can go. Vagabond's always been a series that I've always kind of came back to and looked at, because there's in the manga world, there's like this trifecta of like introspective farming series, which is what Vagabond is basically later on.
Yeah.
But it's like this, Vinland Saga, and Berserk.
I was gonna say Vinland Saga.
And near the end of the series, like where they are currently, because they're not even over yet, where they are currently, you know, a lot of the characters grew up and they're just kind of going around farming or tooling around on their fishing boat or whatever. But there's a reason that trifecta exists, and it's because like stuff like this, like Vagabond, is such a tour de force of what manga is capable of. There's a reason that no one in the past 20 years has ever even attempted to adapt Vagabond. It's because everyone's terrified of it. No studio has ever had like the audacity to say that they could ever actually do it. nobody wants to like approach it because it's so beloved, it's so challenging, like as a piece of just artwork, that the expectations, if anyone ever did this, it would just be like, okay, man, like you're gonna have the judgment of like the entire world on you on this one.
Yeah.
And so that speaks volumes about what it is. So like experiencing it for what it is, because you're never gonna get an anime adaptation. I think it's just worth it. It's worth experiencing because to this day, there's stuff comparable to Vagabond, but there's still nothing like it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the big thing. Even reading it now, 3 years later, and I've read a lot since I last read it back in like 2015, there's still, I've never found anything quite like it. There's themes and like things that carry over from this series that are directly influence and inspire other series that I've read, but nothing quite has the same kind of palpable feeling and taste that Vagabond has. And for that, yeah, I'd have to give it at least like I'd say like a 93% out of 100, because it's just an absolute masterpiece of the medium itself.
Yeah, I planned on giving it a 9. I think that it's fantastic. It reads so fast, but you feel like so much has happened. It looks fantastic. It tells great stories. The characters actually grow and develop. It's great. I would love to read more. So if it's true that it's coming out of hiatus, I'm very happy for all of you hardcore Vagabond fans because
it's fully
because ow,
that would be very exciting. Like
with the 20-year anniversary,
getting off the boat, exciting.
Yeah, like this is not a joke. Like if we draw the sword, it's gonna be a big deal.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, 9 out of 10 is kind of what I was leaning towards as well. It's just such a strong series, and I haven't read anything really like this in terms of like the tone and how it's happening, like how it's unfolding and the different characters, and like Holden was talking about earlier about how you don't know who's gonna survive. Really, whenever you're introduced, you really don't know what's going to happen. And the artwork is phenomenal as well. And it goes great with the pacing of the story. It's so fast, but you're getting a ton of stuff every single time you read. Character development, the scenes are amazing. So I think 9 out of 10 is a very worthy score for this series. And I definitely want to read more of it as well. There's just so, stuff is so good. 10 out of 10, Inoue. It's great. Great. Awesome. Well, we all highly recommend this manga, Vagabond. Definitely go and read it. Just go check it out. You will love it. 100% you'll love it. So now I'm going to read the description for the manga that we are reading, not next week, but the week after. Oh, actually, hold on. I didn't prep myself for this.
That's my name.
Hey. I get to read 2 of these, unless one of my co-hosts would like to read the other.
Lou never gets to. I think Lou should read one.
Lou, which one do you want to read?
Something off my shelf right now, but
oh, I'll read the first one and then you can read the second one. I'll send you this one. Okay. You'll read the second one. Okay. All right, I'm going to read the description. Me and Lou are going to read the descriptions, and then everybody in chat gets to guess what it is. All right. In a seaside town where very little happens, middle school students Blank and Blank live a rather dull life. When Blank's crush breaks her heart, their situation becomes quite unordinary. She starts a no-strings-attached relationship with Blank, whom she had previously rejected, both finding solace in the other in order to fill the emotional voids in their lives. However, being friends with I can't remember if I blanked this already. Friends with benefits becomes complicated when real feelings begin to develop as the consequences of their relationship start to take their toll on those around them and themselves. Blank takes a harsh look at love, relationships, and the emotional price that will be paid as the result of a decision made between 2 teenagers.
Oh my gosh. What is it, chat?
well, while they think about that one, should I just go ahead and hit them with the next one?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get one of this one.
With
Yeah.
the next one.
All right. So After graduating from college, Blank went straight to work as an office lady, but she can't help feeling there should be something more to life. Determined to find a worthier goal, she quits work, but can she actually make her nebulous dream come true? And how will her sudden decision affect her relationship with her boyfriend, Blank?
A lot of boyfriends named Blank. In this
A lot of
series.
blank
Blank
friends.
boys.
A hint. Both of these manga are drawn by the same mangaka.
Yeah, they are.
Perfect. Someone said, I know the manga, but I tried reading it so long ago I don't remember the name. Shoot, I read the description the other day. Come on, guys. I believe in you. Believe.
Where are you?
It's a pretty acclaimed series.
I haven't heard of... I feel like I haven't heard of this.
I think I've read almost everything besides Lou's favorite.
Oh, okay. I know what this is now.
All right, one of them is... They got one of them. So
Yeah.
yes, Gaff lives on got Solanin. Cool.
Solanin, yeah.
Girl on the Shore!
Yep. They're both Inyo Asano.
You haven't read Poon Poon?
No, I've read it. I was just saying because I've read
How?
everything but Lou's favorite.
I know, that's what I clued in, so I was trying not to say it until they got it.
Inyo Asano, I've never read Pin Pin, but I've read, I think, everything else she's ever done, even Digit of Demons. Yeah.
Man.
That's coming off hiatus, right?
Yes, it is. Very excited. I like Digit of Demons. It's pretty good. These are both incredible manga, dude. I'm really excited to see what you guys' thoughts on Solanin and Girl on the Shores. Are you guys reading... All Solanin's only 2 volumes, and Girl on the Shores, I think, 3?
Yeah, we're reading both of them.
Or one.
Like, all of both.
Yeah.
I think. Let me double check. Yes.
Yeah, all of both.
All of both. So yeah, that is what we are going to be reading on February 27th. Like I said, we are skipping next week, so we will not be here. That will be the week after. Let's go ahead and shout out our stuff super fast. I am Erin of Happily Erin. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/Happily Erin. I haven't posted any videos other than MangaPod in a very long time, but you can go check out all of the MangaPods there, as well as my previous anime reviews, first impressions, all sorts of that fun stuff. Hunter x Hunter review, I think was the last review I did, but I watched it lately and I was like, I really love this. So you guys should go and check that out because I'm really proud of that video. But I have been working on a novel, so that's why I have not been posting anything on there. But I am much more social on the social media of the Twitters. So you can come check me out on there. Happily Erin all across the everything. Come talk to me and stuff.
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Dodger. You can find me at Dex Bonus on pretty much everything. I have a coffee company that you can find at dodgercoffeeco.com. And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's me. Thanks for hanging out.
My name's Lou, and I'm from Lou Talks Anime, and I don't really do much of anything now. Life is complicated and busy, but I do talk on Twitter a lot, so talk to me on Twitter at Lou Talks Anime. I also want to start streaming now that I have a semi-decent rig.
You should.
So that's something I would like to try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So, like, for example, this Secret of Mana remake is coming out in 2 days, and I love Secret of Mana, so maybe I'll start with that.
Get in it. Yeah.
I'm excited. But yeah, that's my stuff.
Good. I'm pretty excited if you do actually intend to do that. I'm Holden Casanova. I think my other alias is Holden Reviews. I don't do much of anything, but I'm super active everywhere. If you ever want to contact me, you can always send me a personal message, a DM anywhere really, except YouTube. Who actually checks the YouTube inbox?
Yeah.
And if you would like to talk to me directly or join our community, Anime No You May. It's an annual podcast at this point that has a Discord server that if you want to join, well, I'm sure that me and the rest of the community would love to talk to you. So thank you so much, guys, for listening, and thank you guys so much for having me on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on. It's always lovely to have you. Is that water or vodka?
Maybe.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us to talk about Vagabond. We really appreciate you being here. Whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitch or you're watching the VOD of this on YouTube, thank you so much. We will be here same time. Oh, wait, just kidding. If you would like more MangaPod, We have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/mangapod. We have a recommendation thread there. If you want to recommend us a manga that we have not read or one that you would like to see more of, go ahead and post it there. We also have our schedule on there, so you can see everything that we're reading through the end of June. Otherwise, we will not be here next week, but we will be here the week after, reading A Girl on the Shore and Solanin. Yeah. Reading that. All of both of them. Same time, same place. That week thing. I don't know. I lost track of mine when I messed up the words. So, okay, bye.
You did it.
I did it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.